Órale, raza! It's time for the HCP Roundtable 56. Being joined by a lot of good boxing heads here today. Excited. I got Mario Munguia here. Of course, Joe Habib, who's here every week. Maestro Oswell, D-Style Boxing. We're the regulars, the usual suspects, and then we're also being joined by a first-timer here, the boxing historian 206. What's going on, everybody? How's everybody doing?
Órale.
What up?
Doing really good. I'm just chilling here in Margaritaville. You know what I mean? That's what I'm doing.
Margaritaville.
Or Margarita.
Right?
I'm chilling in Selenaville. So,
You still
we
said
good.
Margarita. It's Margarita. It's Margarita, motherfucker. Yes.
Oh, man. Michael Montero was scheduled to be on from the Ring Magazine. He ran into some stuff, and he won't be able to make it today, but we will definitely be getting him on again sometime in the near future. He already had some things going on, and it just got in the way. So we'll get him on soon. But I want to say to everybody that's joining us here live, thank you for joining us. We got a lot of topics to get into. So I can't salute everybody, but everybody that's here live, thank you so much. So first things first, man, I want to ask you guys about something. Hold on, give me 1 second, man. Getting an echo. My mistake, guys. All right. So I want to ask you guys a question here. Tank Davis, okay? He was on the Brian Cluster podcast recently, and he was quoted as saying this: Mayweather is not protecting me, and you don't see the other top fighters fighting top guys. He also goes on to say he will probably fight top guys in a year or a year after that. So I want to get everybody's thoughts on this. I'm going to start with my maestro. What do you think, man? What are your thoughts on Tank Davis saying what he had to say here?
Well, look, I think it's obvious that Mayweather Promotions is protecting Tank Davis, and it's obvious because Leonard Ellerbe essentially admitted that in an interview I saw him giving when, albeit I was a little bit distracted, as I usually am, by the combination of his nostrils and his particular taste for sunglasses. But when I wasn't distracted, I was actually listening to what he was saying in the interview that he gave, where he essentially spent quite a bit of it telling Eddie Hearn to fuck off and mind his own business, essentially. And he repeatedly said that this is a business and we're running it like a business. And that unlike him being Eddie Hearn, sacrificed Anthony Joshua to Andy Ruiz, who, according to him, he knew that Andy Ruiz would essentially do what he did against Joshua, that he's taking a different route with Tank Davis. I mean, he's entitled to think that. He's entitled to do that. He's entitled to run his business the way he wants. But it's a little bit interesting when Gervonta then says that what Ellerbe says isn't exactly the reality that we all know it to be. Now, look, that's the criticism I have for Gervonta's response. But I'll be honest with you, when it comes to 135 pounds, I mean, they're not fighting each other. Ryan Garcia isn't fighting anybody. Teofimo is not talking about giving Lomachenko a rematch. He's also saying that he doesn't want to fight Devin Haney and is going to fight Josh Taylor at everything from 40 to a catch weight. Okay. Devin Haney honestly seems to be one of the few guys that's actually calling people out. Now, you could say, Maestro, that's not even genuine because he knows that they're not going to respond to that challenge. That may be true. But the fact is, no one at 135 pounds is fighting each other. They're all pretty much acting like protected fighters. And, the criticism can really be handed out to everybody at 135.
All right. Cool, man. Boxing historian, I want to get your thoughts on this, man. What do you think?
You're muted.
You're on mute.
You got the jitters. You got the jitters, ladies and gentlemen. It's okay.
Well, when you look at Floyd Mayweather and what he said, after the fight with Tank and Mario Barrios, saying that he's only going to have him fight in-house, and in other words, fight in the TMT stable. To me, that should tell you the full story in and of itself. In the fact that we've seen Tank Davis, his ascension to being a champion at one weight class, and now he's a regular belt champion in this class, and here it is. They're discredit. You have either, whether it be Floyd Mayweather himself, or you have Leonard Ellerbe discrediting fighters such as Josh Taylor, who's the pound for pound top fighter. Not only that, but the undisputed champion at 140. And you have Tank Davis. When you look at his resume, hasn't really fought nobody of note of a B class, at the very least a B class level. And here it is. He's about to be 27 going on 28, and this man has not fought nobody of that caliber. And what we're seeing, and of course, in my opinion, what we've seen with Mayweather throughout his career after the Oscar De La Hoya fight, I think he's using that same formula for Tank Davis. And to me, I think it's all heir apparent to me what's going on with Tank Davis. He is being protected, and they are doing their best to make him the best money-making machine that they possibly can, because they have nobody else in that stable to make money off of. Even though they're not really doing that great in the pay-per-view sales, he's still their only little bit of cash cow that they have left in that stable in money team Mayweather. So I believe that, he is being protected, regardless of what he says.
All right, we got a protection here from the boxing historian, Mario. I want to get your thoughts, man. What do you think of what Tank had to say about Mayweather not protecting him?
Wait, me, Mario, or you, No, I'm playing. Yeah, listen. I'm gonna take it a little different though.
He doxed him. He doxed him.
Listen. First and foremost, happy to be here, guys. Y'all are my favorites. Love it. But I do want to disagree slightly with what Maestro said. I don't think that it's necessarily. It's boxing's culture that's protecting Tank and all the other fighters that Maestro, mentioned. This is not something new. This is not something that's part of the game that is, starting to bother us, and that people are starting to talk about. Like, this goes back to as far as you want to mention. We can talk about the HBO days, the Showtime days. Everybody remembers HBO towards the end. It was the worst about, protecting's a weird word, but more along the lines of building up guys that we, had no proof that they were these, giants that they were talking about. Now Golovkin would go on to prove it. Lomachenko, I think, would go on to prove it. But there was a lot of, guys along the way, and it made it difficult for these promoters to, take a chance. What's, I think, frustrating more with Tank than the others mentioned, the others deserve to be mentioned too as being protected, other than Tszyu, because at least he did take that fight. What's so frustrating is that he doesn't seem to have an identity. Is he a lightweight? Is he a junior lightweight? Is he a welterweight? Is he a junior welterweight? Is he going to fight at super middleweight one day? Like, he has no identity. And that's the frustrating part, because we don't know where he's headed. And then the fans, end up soaking in things like Andre Berto because of what? Because of this test and these situations. Canelo doing what he's doing, I know we'll talk about that later, but Canelo doing what he's doing is different after he's already accomplished certain things up to a certain point. Tank hasn't reached that point, and they're still milking him for as much as they can.
Yeah, all good stuff there, man. Alexis L with the $2 super chat says, HCP, thank you so much for the support. We appreciate everybody's support.
That was HCP with that exclamation point on it. You know what I mean?
McMahon HCP.
Don't forget. Don't forget to hit that like button. 26 watch, only got 17 likes. Come on, guys. Let's get them up. It's free 99 to hit that like button. Okay, let's go.
Well, I ain't paying him 99 cents here.
Joe Habib, man, what do you think about Tank Davis' statements here?
Well, it's hard to not look at what they're doing and seeing that he's not being matched carefully. I think there are guys at lightweight that would fight anybody. I do believe Devin Haney would fight anybody. I do believe Jojo Diaz would fight anybody. I do believe Lomachenko would fight anybody, right? And I've taken this new attitude. And I was talking to Eric on our show, and I said, you know what? I'm going to even stop complaining about these guys who aren't fighting the fights that they should fight, or we think they should fight, or we want them to fight. I'm just going to focus on the guys who are fighting the fights that they are fighting and that are intriguing matchups. Jojo Diaz, Devin Haney, I really like that fight. I like Lomachenko versus Comey. I think those are two decent fights. They're pretty solid fights. Tank's fight, I'm just not really interested in. But you know what? Let him do what he's going to do. They have a specific plan over there. I'm just not interested in it. But the way I look at it is there's so much other stuff going on that I can be interested in. It's going to, garner my attention. But I will say this: he's 27 years old. At some point, these other guys like Teofimo fought Loma. Devin Haney is fighting Jojo. He's looking to continue to challenge himself. Teofimo Lopez, I don't know how long he's going to be able to stay at 135. I don't believe Josh Taylor will fight him next. I do believe Josh Taylor will end up fighting Crawford. But a great fight for Teofimo would be Jose Zepeda at 140. He should have one or two fights in before he challenges for the title, in my opinion. But at the end of the day, it's obvious that he is being carefully matched. But I don't really care anymore because I'm just looking forward to the matchups that are going to be made, and the division can go on, and will go on without him.
Yep, I agree, man. If he's not going to get it on anybody else, they're just going to move on. So, D-Style, what do you think, man? Let me know your thoughts.
Well, so here is the trash bin, right? Right here, I have a little trash bin. Let me look at Tank's resume at 130 pounds. Yeah, it's trash. Okay. Let me look at Tank's resume at 135. Oh my God, this is trash. Let me look at one. Yeah, it's trash as well. His whole career, trash. His take, trash. Canelo beats Plant. Oh, Canelo's me at super middleweight. Oh, I'm not protected. Motherfucker, you are protected. He protected you from Lomachenko because he's going to beat your ass. Okay? You haven't fought anybody noteworthy. All right? Can we get Tank Davis, please, to fight a top 5 dude in his division? Like any division, pick one. Okay? Pick 130, pick 135, pick 140. Can you please? All right, and I don't need his damn fans, okay, with their damn, Goliath syndrome that they got going on. That if you move up in weight and you're Tank Davis and the guy's 4 inches taller than him, that adds to the rankings or some shit. There's some weird math that they got going on. Let me tell you guys something really clear, really fast, right now. Tank Davis, all right, look at his defense. Well, we're all doing it, so I'll fight the top fighters next year. Well, he's admitting to you he's not fighting the top guys. He just said it. He said it to every single one. He's admitting, at best, everyone's doing it. Well, he's putting himself in that table. You know who's not doing that? I don't want to hear it's all the language. It's not true. Teofimo Lopez fought Nagatani, fought Comey, fought Lomachenko back to back to back, and now he's going to be fighting Camboza as the number 1 contender. Okay, it's not true that everybody's doing it. Okay. Now Triller, obviously, kept the dude in the shelf, and look at Lomachenko. Lomachenko, he's keeping himself busy. He's about to fight Comey, a much better fighter than fucking Tank has fought in years, ladies and gentlemen. All right, Tank Davis is so full of shit. He's telling you to your face he's feeding you shit. He's telling you to your face he ain't giving you what you want. He's telling you he'll give you what you want next year. Right, so stop capping for the dude. Please catch it to put on and look cool, not to lie.
There we go, man. Nice demonstration there by D-Style as well. I'm going to give my quick thoughts because I feel like there could be some back and forth here or people wanting to add something. So, look, I think it's pretty simple. He didn't fight Lomachenko when there was a lot of talks of that happening, right? And recently, we've heard his own promoter out of his own mouth after he defeated the great Aztec warrior Mario Barrios, right? That we're doing everything in house. To me, that's protection 101. And I agree with you, Beeb. I think all these guys will fight each other. I don't think they're afraid of each other, but they're protecting the investment. I mean, I think it's pretty damn obvious. That's really all I got to say. We got a few more minutes here before we move on to the next topic. Anybody want to add anything or go back and forth with somebody about what they said, this is your time. Go ahead.
Yeah, I want to debate Maestro on the quality of LRB's glasses. No, I'm playing. I'm just kidding.
Those are some Firma
Well,
shades too. Don't get it wrong.
he likes that kind of Detroit pimp style
Yes.
custom made frame. Like
Damn, you nailed
that's definitely
it, bro.
his look. You know what I
You
mean?
nailed
But
it.
No, I do want to say this.
Don't forget the eyeliner.
Nobody could follow me up. Okay, that's why they got nothing to say. Okay, nobody could follow me up. That's why nobody's got nothing to say.
No, you're right.
Well, I mean, I could definitely say a few things about what you said. I mean, I wasn't talking about past people's resumes. Like Teo gets all kinds of credit for taking on Nakatani, for taking on Lomachenko. Lomachenko gets credit for what he's doing right now. But look, Tank Davis was called out by Devin Haney when his fight fell apart, right? Before Pitbull Cruz was mentioned, and Tank Davis didn't want it. I'm not willing to put Devin Haney in the same category, unfortunately, that I'm putting Ryan Garcia in. I'm not putting Teofimo Lopez in that category either, just for the record, that I'm putting Garcia in because he's not fighting, okay? That I'm putting Tank Davis in because he's not fighting either. But I might be in a minority here. I actually want to see Haney versus Teofimo Lopez. I actually wouldn't mind seeing Lomachenko versus Teofimo Lopez because look, I'm on the same shows. I'm looking in the same message boards as everybody here. Oh, Lomachenko, the bad shoulder. That wasn't 100% Lomachenko. We've never seen Lomachenko like that before. Yeah, well, we also never see a guy fight him the way Teofimo fought before. So, you know, there's no reason not to do the rematch. I think Lomachenko, to his credit, is doing everything he can to kind of force it by taking on Nakatani, by taking on Comey. I definitely don't think we can throw everyone in the same bunch here. Haney wants to fight. Lomachenko wants to fight. You know, does Teofimo want to stay at lightweight? I think that's an open question because he's calling out Josh Taylor. And like I said before, he's mentioning, you know, catchweights. Now, look, I don't think that's a bad fight. I don't think that you're ducking Devin Haney if you take on Josh Taylor. I think Josh Taylor's a more difficult fight. Kudos to him for wanting to take it. But at the same time, Josh Taylor said that he doesn't really want that fight. So, look, all I'm saying is we keep hearing earlier on about the four kings, right? Well, those four kings fought each other.
Yeah, they're
These
not
four kings are not fighting each other.
Oh,
it's
come
that
on,
simple.
man. It's like the song, like when we were kings. You know what I mean? Like,
Four vice presidents. Is that better? No.
Maybe, yeah. But no, that's all great stuff from all you guys.
Hey, Tank, fight somebody, bro. Tank reminds me I mean, come on, bro. Like this dude is like he's a typical bully. I mean, like in the playground, the bullies go after, you know, the weakest links, and that's what he's doing. Right?
Yeah.
Go put somebody that's gonna push you back, homie. Yo, why don't you go do that?
Yeah, he's got to give the fans something that we want. Nobody wanted to see fucking Barrios. Nobody wants to see Cruz or Raleigh. So anyway, good stuff, guys. Let's move on. I want to talk about
great fighter.
News. Okay.
Great guy.
A little bit of breaking news here. And I'm gonna put
it up on the screen.
No. But this is according to boxingnews24.com, which says here, Eddie Hearn revealed today that he has written to the WBC and the WBO to get them to order a unification class between 160-pound champions Jamal Charlo and Demetrius Andrade. And I think that that's great news. Hopefully they can get that fight done. So I'm going to ask the panel what they think about this. I'm going to start with you, Mr. Beeb. Give me your thoughts, man.
I don't think the WBC is going to allow that or force that fight to happen. It would be great if they did, but I'm not going to hold my breath. With all due respect to both fighters, I don't think that is one of those mega fight matchups that the WBC would say to themselves, damn, if we got this fight, we get a nice juicy sanctioning fee. I'm sure they'd rather make other fights at 160 that they feel as though they can benefit off of. So it's a great idea, and I commend Eddie Hearn for trying to do it, and I hope he is successful, but I'm highly skeptical that he will be. So I'm cautiously optimistic. Let's just put it that way.
Well said there, man. D-style boxing, man. What do you think, bro?
Like Beeb said, although I'm kind of surprised that Beeb would say this about a non-profit organization like the WBC. We don't do things for money or for anything like that. Okay, we're here for a good cause. We help the children that save their sister. That's why we made the belt, a new division. And in this case, of course, we will honor the rules of the WBC by enforcing the discretion of the WBC, which is the ultimate rule about these. So I am not shocked, and I do not believe that this will be any type of roadblock in the way. I don't.
All right. Maestro, you're up, man. What do you think about this? You're on mute, brother.
My apologies. I don't have my typical setup, and I like to mute myself when I'm not speaking. Look, this is the WBC. You know, I agree with a lot of what D-Star was saying. I mean, this is an organization that literally filed Chapter 11 bankruptcy to avoid paying a judgment. I believe it was in excess of $30 million at the time. I don't know if you guys remember. I think it was Giancarlo Riccigiani, that they screwed out of a title. I mean, they essentially gave away his title totally illegitimately. If you're holding on to hope that this organization is going to be your saving grace in resolving the issue of two guys that just don't fight each other and really shouldn't even need this organization to be involved in that, I don't know what to tell you. I mean, I guess you're the kind of person that, believes in fairy tales and pixie dust and all kind of special magical powers, because the WBC ain't going to resolve this for you. They're not, I mean, as sanctioning bodies go, I don't think they're the worst. We discussed this last week, but they're not going to resolve this situation. All that he needs to happen is Charlo needs to agree to face Andrade. Simple. I mean, if anything, they just got to give him an exemption so he doesn't have to take on his mandatory, although I think he's already gotten rid of that. So, look, WBC allowed a fight to happen, them forcing it to happen, let's not hold on to hope for that. But what's interesting to me about this whole situation, and I don't quite understand the chess moves being made by Eddie Hearn, because it sounds like he's kind of supporting the litigation that Dillian White has filed against the WBC. And I mean, they've been entirely critical of the WBC not giving Dillian White a shot at the title for whatever number of days they always quote. Which is it? Is it the organization that's screwing over your fighters, or is it the organization that's going to resolve, problems and be, a rule following, non-clause breaking, reputable organization? It's confusing. I don't understand this move, particularly of Eddie Hearn, about going this route, but we'll see if it bears any fruit. I'm not very optimistic about it.
All right, Mario Munguia, you're up next, man. What do you think about this Eddie Hearn situation here?
Yeah, I think Maestro nailed it. It just makes too much sense for it to happen. This is boxing. We can't forget that. And, the thing is this. I'm just going to echo the sentiments. It's a fight that shouldn't need the WBC. Just like Maestro said, it shouldn't need. Listen, running down Jermall Charlo's last four opponents, we're talking Brandon Adams, Dennis Hogan, Derevchenko, and Montiel. Okay, that is what it does is it gives me the impression that this has always been more of a business for Maul than a sport. I like to believe that my fighters actually give a shit about who they fight and about their resume and about how they perform and who they're performing against and legacy. The same way that you see that drive in, football and baseball and basketball for guys that go after championships and Super Bowls and World Series rings. The way you see that, I don't see that from all. And that's fine. That's totally cool. He can do and be whatever he wants. And he doesn't owe anybody anything. But then at the end of the day, he doesn't get that legacy, and he doesn't get, the greatness that comes with that, and the hurrahs and the cheers and the admiration from fans. He knows that he can go to Texas and fight somebody with a Spanish surname and sell a certain amount of tickets. And that seems to be the goalpost that he cares about more than anything else. This fight should have happened, 5-6 years ago, Beep? And it never did. And if any two fighters need each other more, I don't know. And yet it's still, we're here. And I don't see this moving anywhere closer. I applaud Eddie for trying. I understand why he's trying. But I think this is going to be to no prevail.
Not a lot of faith so far in the move here from Eddie Hearn. Brian, what do you think, brother?
Well, I'm just looking at both of these guys' records because I pretty much agree with everything that's been said so far and echo pretty much the same sentiments. I mean, I look at the record for Charlo, and we're talking about 160 Charlo, and we're talking about Andrade. I mean, I've been on Andrade for a long time, actually, since I first saw him on Friday Night Fights way back in the day. And I just thought there was not this dude's opponent selection back then when he was coming up wasn't what he should have been coming out of the Olympics. Same thing with Charlo. It's just a bunch of belt holders who have not fought each other. It's been years upon years fighting lower class fighters in their past. I mean, I know you guys don't like to talk about fighters in their profession, but I mean, Quigley is the BUM status. All right, of boxing. All right, I'm just gonna keep it 100 with Andrade. These guys are consent with fighting, and these guys are not getting any younger. These guys are, one's 31, the other one's 34 going on 35. These guys are constantly fighting these fights that they can fight at least 4 or 5 times a year. Yet you're doing it once a year, and you're a belt holder, and you're not challenging yourself to fight one another or fight another top guy. All right. So like regardless of the WBC and the WBO, right? That they're saying that they're trying to mandate this, right? I look at it like this: regardless if they do mandate this fight or not, they do make a mandatory of this. Regardless if they do or not, I mean, it's like a couple years too late. Now, I still want to see the fight, but I look at these two guys like, man, you guys have left a lot on the table to offer. All right, in terms of what you could have gave for your own career. And it's not like you guys sustain a reputable amount of damage upon yourselves because you haven't fought enough. And the amount of opponents the caliber of opponents that you've fought is not up to the status of your ability. And it's very disappointing. And I look at it from this standpoint, regardless of the fight's made or not, it's all like it better if it don't get made within the next 5 months, then what the hell am I, as a viewer, as a boxing fan, what the hell do I have interest for in two guys that are just, paper champions that don't want to fight each other? They don't want to fight nobody good. That's how I look at it from that standpoint.
Yeah, look, I'm gonna stay optimistic, guys. I am, because I feel like it's to the point where something has to give at middleweight. These guys have had those belts for a couple years now, both of them, and they just can't get the fight to happen. I mean, Jesus Christ, like middleweight is just so stagnant with these champions. I mean, look, Triple G, the guy who's like 40 years old now, is gonna go and unify with somebody over in their home country, and you tell me these guys can't fight? Like, we got to do all this, just to get them to fight. But look, like I said, I'm gonna stay optimistic. They're not getting any younger. All right, they're not no spring chickens, both of them. So if this shit's gonna happen, it's gonna have to happen next year, or it ain't gonna happen at all. That's just the way that I see it. And I think I do remember hearing when Ness from the Boxing Voice was talking with Charlo, Jamal Charlo. I asked him about the Canelo fight. He said, like, yeah, I'm gonna get that fight. Go after another champion. What about Andrade? And he said, nah, I ain't fighting him. You know, like, and there's other videos where he's cursing out Andrade and all this other stuff. So, like, you know, to me, his energy is just off when it comes down to making some of these tough fights. So, look, hopefully they make it happen. He doesn't vacate, which is a very it's a possibility to drop the damn belt. You know, we'll see what happens, man. But we got a few more minutes here. Anybody else want to add anything?
You know, real quick, I do want to clear it up because I touched on it a little bit and you just did too. You know, in case there's any casuals watching, I've tried to be a little more, you know, open-minded towards that, to draw in as many fans as we can get. You know, the original thing that happened with this fight between Andrade and wait, no, it was Mel or was it Maul? Now I'm forgetting. Originally, he was supposed to fight at Charlo. It was supposed to be on Showtime. It was going to be in December.
It was Mel.
It was Mel, you're right. And so he would have already fought a Charlo by now. And what ended up happening was everybody remembers Rock Nation and Jay-Z made a play into boxing. And Andrade was one of the fighters that they, you know, ended up scouting and essentially signing. And that messed everything up. You know, that messed up the bag for, you know, Andrade for sure. And the Charlos have always held a grudge for that. I understand the frustration. I do. I get that. That was a frustrating moment in boxing for everybody, fans. I remember, you know, that felt like, I remember when Mosley Berto were going to fight. That's how it felt. It was like a letdown. But at the end of the day, you know, business is business. You know, that stuff is past and they should be over it, especially the Charlos.
Well, Mario, it goes. So go ahead, D.
I was going to say really quick. Let me just tell you guys something, man. Stop making excuses, and I'm not saying anybody in the panel, but
no,
stop making excuses for Andrade. Stop making excuses for Charlo. These motherfuckers just start fighting each other, and I'm also sick and tired of PBC fighters not being held into account for not going across the street themselves. Okay, it was bullshit to me, and it still is, that Canelo had to go to over there to go fight fucking Plant. Okay, when he's the draw, he's the cash cow, right? But he only did it because he wanted to be undisputed that bad. Well, but he didn't have to fight Plant to prove shit to anybody, okay? Charlo, you don't generate shit. You and your brother together couldn't sell 100,000 pay-per-views, okay? So get over yourself. Leonard Allerby, get over your fucking self. It's about money at the end of the day, okay? If Eddie Hearn has the money, you go make the fucking fight on the zone, okay?
Yeah.
And PBC fans, just get your put your fucking pom-poms down. Stop picking sides. Stop being pro PBC. Stop being pro the zone. Stop being pro ESPN. Fuck all of them. Before the fights, okay? Wherever the fight can get done, before it. If Eddie Hearn is saying I got the money, do the fucking fight already. It's getting old. Who the fuck is Charlo to say, nah, I only fight on, on Showtime or Fox or PBC? Fuck that shit. This shit's getting old, and it's getting old as fuck. If this, let me tell you something. If Al Heyman believed in Charlo, if he believed in him, he would have sent him over there to get that belt, just like he sent Castano to beat Teixeira. Okay?
Yeah, pretty
That's
much.
a good point, D-Sal. Look, here's what I want to do, and I know Mario just took us down a deep dive. I'm going to cover a little bit more detail of that in a moment. But I also think, to be fair to Jermel, that we got to start being accurate when we're talking about Charlo. We're talking about Jermel Charlo. Jermel Charlo's been taking fights.
Yes.
I got no complaints about Jermel
I'm glad
Charlo.
you said that.
He's been involved in some great fights. He's up for rematches, right? We see him agreeing to take on Castano. A lot of other guys wouldn't have agreed to do that in a fight that I thought he lost. Big up to him for doing the rematch for that. There's Jermel, and then there's Jermal. So that's number one. Number two, look, it goes back pretty far when it comes to Andrade. He took a big signing bonus to sign with not Lou DiBella, with Joe DeGuardia, Star Boxing, as opposed to taking on a contract for less upfront money with a bigger name promoter. This is a guy who was an amateur world champion as an amateur. He signed with a, let's face it, I think calling it a boutique outfit would be generous. And his career stalled as a result. Brian brought it up. You know, we were acquainted with him as a pro, those who didn't know him as an amateur, which I'm sure a lot of us did, on very, very small cards, ESPN2 level mismatches. And honestly, his career has not really progressed that far. What's his best win? Who has he beaten for world titles? Ask even the ardent boxing fan this, and they'll have to scratch their head for a second and think about it to come up with the answers. And the fact is, yes, these guys aren't fighting each other. This is understood. But I'm going to lay a little bit of heat on him that I don't actually even lay on Jamal Charlo. And it's because of the gentleman that's sitting across from Mario on the screen for me right now and the excellent reporting that Joe Habib did. He gave this guy a platform. The dude was super arrogant, showing up late, refusing to really give substantive answers to very basic questions posed by Joe. And when Joe asked a very direct question about, would you fight Murata, who, by the way, is an Olympic gold medalist, who, by the way, is an active world champion, who, by the way, is a legit boxer and is a serious draw and a national hero in Japan, the response was, well, I wouldn't go out to fight him in Japan. He should come out over to fight me here in Providence. Well, my brother, you're fighting out of a minor league ice hockey arena.
Yeah.
This dude is fighting out of a legit major venue in Japan, doing blockbuster numbers on Japanese television. If you're that dude, if you really want to fight active world champions and unify the division, it's not just about Charlo. Why weren't you up when Joe asked you about Murata for, I'd take that fight right now. Hell yeah, I'd go over to Tokyo and face him in his backyard. I'd love to do. That's what I would have wanted to hear. Joe, is that what you heard?
That's exactly what I heard. That he didn't want to.
Let me get to the super chat here, and then we're going to move on real quickly. Tony Boswell, $10 super chats. Much respect to HCP Roundtable and the panel. Stopped in to show some support and hit the like button. Happy holidays to everyone.
Shout out to Tony.
Gee, I just want to. I want to just say something for 10 seconds here.
Go ahead.
I normally don't respond to comments in the chat, but I have to correct someone because this is being said a lot. There's an impression going on that people think that just because you're the WBO champion in one weight class, you can move up and challenge for a higher weight class title. That's not correct. You have to be designated the super champion by the WBO in order to do that. The only reason why Usyk was able to do that and Crawford were able to do that was because they were designated super champions by the WBO. Andrade is not a super champion in the WBO. He never got that designation.
There it is, man.
And for those who don't know exactly what that means, you've got to be unified for that designation.
No, there's a whole different set of requirements for that. But
they make this shit up as they go. You guys know that.
Yeah. They could say that
follow the damn rules.
They could say that you have a great resume. They could say that you're a star in your division. There's if you read the rules and the requirements for that, it's weird. It's very weird.
Yeah, another super chat here from D-Style Boxing. The $5 super chat. Appreciate that, man. PBC or not, the other guys don't pay my bills, so I can say what I want. Put the network pom-poms down.
Yeah, just put the pom-poms down, man. I'm just sick and tired. Real quick, I won't be more than 30 seconds. I'm just sick and tired of seeing these boxing fans out here like fucking cap for networks and for I think this fight should be on pay-per-view, like advocating for pay-per-view, like goddamn, man. Like, just be a boxing fan. You don't want to see these fights? Why can't Charlo? Why can't he go to the zone? Why not?
Yeah.
Well, why advocate and be against that? All that does is put roadblocks on making the fight happen. That's all it does. All right.
Sure does. So I'm gonna go ahead and
done with it. Put the pom-poms down. Right?
Let's go ahead.
Put them down. That's what they got the ring girls for. Let them do the smiles and hold the pom-poms. You don't need to do that. Okay? Like, give me a P. You know, like, what is this?
Please don't do the rest.
Give me a B.
No.
Give me a C. What's that spell? PBC. Yeah, let's pay $69.99 for Ortiz versus, Prince, Charles. Woo! Yay! Give me a P.
No, what's
Give
worse,
me a
D-Style,
B.
is they'll do
Give me a
that and
C.
they won't even fucking pay for the pay-per-view. Like, it's that's the sad part. But before we move
Be
on,
the fucking
let's-
streams that she got.
let's,
PBC giving us the real fights. And y'all got that link? Yes, email me that link. Like, what the fuck? Like, support, bro. Because I know you ain't supporting shit. All right, because they ain't selling shit.
no.
All right, let me tell you
Numbers
something. I'll
don't
tell you right now.
reflect
If
that, man.
Ortiz versus Prince Charles Martin, okay, there's over 100,000. Okay, I'll be shocked.
Me too, man. But let's. I'm gonna play this and we'll move on to the next topic. Here we go.
So knowing that, I've heard, like I said, everything you said. You want the Canelo fight. We know that's not available.
Yeah,
So why don't you hunt down the other guys that are
worth it? Who else worth it? I'm the champ.
Andre is the only one worth it because it'll be a unification.
Nobody know him.
But the unification
Nobody
for you.
Nobody in the world knows him. He ain't shit. It's some other champions out there. If I gotta go to another weight class to get one, I will. Well, why should I have to fight them? You don't mean nothing to me.
There we go, man.
Another
Another 199.
champ.
PBC protecting Boxers Corporation. That's right, man. Thank you for the 199. So let's since we're talking about one Charlo, let's go to the other Charlo, right? We've heard some news this week, okay, that it sounds like the WBO has reached a resolution with Tszyu. All right. So now they can make the rematch between Jermell Charlo, unified champion at 154 pounds, with the WBO champion Brian Castano. All right. The fight ended in controversy. Okay. I think a lot of us on this panel felt Castano won. Maybe a lot of people in the chat. I don't know. I know there were some people saying that they felt Charlo won, but I want to get your guys' thoughts. Who wins this rematch, man? It's happening in February, it sounds like, and it is happening in Houston. I want to start with Maestro. What are your thoughts?
Yeah. First of all, I just really want to comment on the video that you just showed, because I think it's problematic and that people allow these guys to get away with statements like that. Look, I just was very critical of Andrade, but for you to say no one knows who this dude is, I mean, do they know him any less than they know Brendan Adams? Do they know them any less than they know Dennis Hogan or Montiel, his last opponent? And it's like the same thing with Tank Davis. It's like, oh, nobody knows who Josh Taylor is. Well, yeah, I mean, more people know about Josh Taylor than they know about Isaac Cruz, with all due respect to the Pitbull. So, I mean, people got to be a little bit more critical when these guys make these statements like that and avoid harder fights because they say that no one knows those people. Now, in terms of Jermell Charlo, I said it before, big up to this dude for taking on challenges. He believes in himself. It's one of the reasons he has an L and his brother doesn't. People shouldn't discredit guys because they got those L's on those records when they're willing to take on tough fights. That's another thing that we kind of get over in boxing, right? People should be rewarded for taking on tough fights and losing fights or getting draws as he did against Castano, right? I think that Castano, based on the last fight, has got at this moment to be considered the favorite. My issue, and it was the issue going into the fight, I thought Castano was going to win. My concern about the first fight was fairness. I mean, we're talking about a commission where, is it Dickie Cole still in charge of it, or he was for many years? I mean, Lawrence Cole was their premier referee. They say don't mess with Texas. I think what they should really say is don't mess with Texas in terms of you're not from Texas and people are offering you fights there. No disrespect to D-style boxing, but it's like, why the fuck would you go to Texas if you want a real fight?
That's right, shit.
Huh? So, yeah. So look, will it be fair? That's the question. Because if it is fair, Castano, I believe, won the last fight. Although it was close, I think he won it. And they're two very closely, evenly matched guys. And when that happens, which is what's happening in this rematch, again, it boils down to fairness. So that's my question right now. I mean, is it going to be fair? Who's judging it? Who's going to be refereeing the fight? You know,
Yeah, we don't have those details yet. It's not even official yet, but it's sounding like it. Like it's pretty much there. They've already asked the guy to step aside, so looking like we're gonna get it. And yeah, I'm excited because you guys know I love undisputed fights. Was disappointed that it ended in a draw because again, nobody walked away with all the belts. So I think this time both guys are gonna look to end the fight early. That's what I think. I didn't even think Castano was going to go in there look for the knockout because he's fighting in Charlo's hometown. And, Charlo might want to put the critics, to sleep and say, hey, look, I knocked the guy out that you guys said beat me last time. So I think it's going to be a really good fight. I think both guys are going to be looking for that knockout. But I want to shoot it over to my man, the boxing historian. What do you think, man? Who you got winning this one, the rematch?
Well, dealing with the fight with Charlo and Brian Castano, I mean, I thought that Brian Castano won 7-5 in the first fight. There should have been an undisputed crown right there, but who I have winning in this fight, I mean, I think that they're both going to make a considerable amount of adjustment just based off of what some mistakes, because they both got the bell rung in the first fight. So I believe that there's going to be, I would say, from Jamero Charlo's I got the right brother, right? Jamero Charlo, right?
Yeah,
Jamero Charlo. I think that he might be more of a boxer puncher, more so than just trying to move out of the way. I think he is going to stand in the pocket a little bit more to try to establish ground on Castano. But I also believe that Castano is probably going to be more effective to the body, probably having a more of effective body work and then set something upstairs. But with that being said, I do believe that it's not going to go to the judges this time around. I think it's going to be a firefight, but I do think that the guy that has the more power, and they both have power, don't get it twisted, and they're both aggressive when they need to be. But I do believe that Castano is probably going to have a little bit more in terms of his power, in terms of his force of will. And I think that when those exchanges happen in the pocket, I do believe that, I think they're both going to, it's going to kind of be like the first fight in terms of they're both going to get their bell rung or get stunned, or they're going to back up by a punch or two. But I do believe that Castano's probably going to bring a little bit more attrition to the fight, and I think that's going to eventually get him to a between 7th and 9th round stoppage from my perspective.
Good stuff there, man. D-Style with another $5 super chat to jab to the like, cross to the subscribe, and uppercut to the bell. That's right. This way every time we go live here or I drop a video. Joe Habib, I love your predictions and your breakdowns, man. So I want to know what you got here, man, in this fight.
You don't love my predictions and breakdowns? You just like Beebs?
I like Beeb, man. I like the way he breaks the stuff down, man. But I like everybody else's as well. Talk to me, Beeb. What do you see here, man?
I loved Castano's style, and I thought it would present problems in the first fight. But what I was surprised with? I thought that Charlo's power would be the difference in the first fight. And what surprised me was Castano's durability. And another thing that surprised me also was, I knew he was a sharp puncher, but I didn't think he would be able to buzz Charlo, like Brian said, that they both buzzed each other. I knew he would score and land blows, but I wasn't sure that he could get Charlo's respect. And I think he got Charlo's respect in that fight. I did think he won the fight 7-5. I did think it was close. But I do like the way Charlo ended that fight. I had him winning the last 3 rounds. But Castano got off to a great start and won a great deal of the rounds in the first half. So because Castano showed durability, and because he showed that he had some pop and he could get Charlo's attention and respect, it's hard for me not to favor him in this rematch, because one thing that I do, not one thing, but a couple key things, but one thing in particular stands out, was the difference in foot speed. He was in and out, in and out, in and out with his ambush attacks, and Charlo had a hard time dealing with that foot speed. So his foot speed really, really befuddled Charlo. And it was in a way, it reminded me of the Harrison fight, not that they fight similar, Harrison and Castano, but you could see that Charlo was getting a little frustrated with Castano's defense, and Castano's defense was his legs, whereas Tony Harrison's defense was his upper body movement. He didn't use a lot of foot movement, but both guys were able to counter and were able to frustrate Charlo. And when Charlo gets frustrated, he starts becoming a little over anxious and sometimes, dare I say, reckless. And that's where I thought he opened himself up to a lot of counter shots. So I'm going to favor Castano. I think he's the quicker guy on his feet, and I think he's may have a touch bit faster hands as well. So I think speed will be the key, and the movement and the defense will be the key in the rematch.
Nicely said, Beeb. Mario, what do you think, man?
Yeah, listen, Lance Pugmire, saying that this is going through, that's good enough for me. We all know he's a very reliable source. The first fight was great. It was awesome. I had to force to watch it on an iPad, traveling in a car, and literally the excitement level did not change at all. Loved the fight. It had so much energy. Both guys proved a lot. Mel dug deep in that fight. He really did. He fought through, and Beeb said it best. Castano, he proved how not just durable he can be, but his skill set, it didn't falter. There were some aspects of his guard that he let down or whatever, but at the end of the day, he was a complete fighter, or I guess his version of a complete fighter all the way through. There's only one problem with that fight, and that's Nelson Vasquez's 117-111 for Charlo. That was the only blemish of the fight. And again, I scored it for Castano. I thought he won. I watched the fight 3 times, scored it 3 times for him. That said, I don't think a Mel victory is completely out of the equation. I think that was something that could be done. That said, going into it, the one thing I will say, because all of you made great points and I'm not going to echo them, the only thing I'll try to add different is that we've seen Mel have to rematch. And he was able, with Tony Harrison, to make adjustments. He was able to show what he is capable of doing. And that's a high level thing to do. People don't realize that, the hardest thing isn't to beat a man the first time. It's a lot of times it's harder to beat him the second time, especially if you lose. So, coming back from this, I think he has the, ability. I mean, he's always had the ability, and I think he has the wits and all the things that you need to go into a situation where you're going to be in a tough fight. You're going to have to dog it out at some point, and it's going to be remain to see if Castano can as well. I think he can, and I think that's why it's going to be an early favorite for fight of the year.
Yeah, definitely. It was a good fight the first time, and that could be the case, man. D-Style, give me your thoughts, man. The rematch, undisputed, 154 pounds. Mute.
Well, look, I'm excited about this fight. I'm glad it's early in the year. Knock on wood, first of all, before anything. And look, I said yesterday, I love the state of Texas. It's a beautiful state, Country songs. I was thinking about the Texas, the blue skies in Texas. You know what I mean? Like we're the only ones that have blue skies, but nonetheless, it feels that way. The clear blue skies of Dallas, Texas. Like Dallas is the only place on earth. But anyway, look, but they don't have the best judges. Like they don't. It's true. Okay. The house fighter, and make no mistake about it, Jermell in Houston is the house fighter, right? Will always, all right, get at least one judge on the side. Meaning the house fighter has to win over 2 judges. The away fighter needs to convince, more than that. Okay. Let me reword that. The house fighter just needs to win one of the judges over because he already has one. Right? The away fighter needs to convince 2. And that's an unfair advantage. I'm not saying that there's some, backdoor deals or the scheming at a table like that. I know boxing fans are already big conspiracy theorists, okay? But it's no secret. Look, if it's common sense, guys, all right? if you have a job as a judge and they pay you good and it's a job you want to keep, they don't have to tell you anything. All right. Like you kind of already know, like, hey, they keep calling me up, even though I keep like every time I score for one of their guys, they just keep calling me back. You know what I mean? Like that's how it happens. And then invite them to dinner and treat them to some nice lobster dinner, you know, with the big wigs and nice suits, you know, at the Red Lobster or wherever, you know what I mean? They get all that good life. You know, like a lot of people like that status, like to be in that position. You don't have to say a word. You just don't. All right. So that's just the way that works. I like the fight. I think Beeb did a great job breaking it down. So I don't want to, spend too much time with that. But I will say this. Jermell Charlo, at least I have always said, he is a really good fighter. He is in my, if I were, I don't make lists, but if I were to make a top 10 pound for pound list, I would have him on the list personally. On the high end, I don't know about top 3 or 4 or something like that, but I would have him on the high end, like 8, 9, something like that. And Castano as well. These are 2 great fighters that made for each other in a way that is great for boxing. Similarly, and I'm not comparing them to these guys versus some nostalgia freaks get on me, but it just reminds me of how like Ali and Frazier were made for one another. Like they were always going to have a great fight.
That's a good point, yeah.
And that's, to me, they're always going to have a great fight. I expect a trilogy, to be honest with you. So that's what I'll say about that.
I think that's really that could definitely happen because I feel like their styles are definitely made for each other to have these kind of fights. Nando Yamas 499 says happy holidays to the HCP familia. Hey man, thank you so much for your support. Appreciate you, man. Let's move on to the next topic. Okay. Let's talk about the pound for pound king of boxing right now, the number one guy, the cash cow in boxing, Canelo Alvarez. Okay, he's been rumored to move up to cruiserweight. All right, looks like the WBC is cool with it. He's gonna move up to fight Makabu at cruiserweight. So I want to say this. I looked around, looked at some odds. Now there are some early odds out. Don't know if they're official, but I'm seeing anything from minus 400 Canelo to something like this, minus 700, where they're giving him about an 87% chance to win this fight against a cruiserweight. So I'm going to ask the panel real quickly. I want you guys to give me your percentage of how you think. Do you think Makabu has a shot
Nice
to win?
projection.
What's the early projection here for Makabu to beat Canelo? And let me know why. I'll start with D-Style Boxing. Go ahead.
Well, if I go first or last, I'm always the show. I'm that dude. El Dragón, El Capitan. Check this out. Okay, I'll put you aside. I'll give Makabu about a 30% chance to win, which is pretty solid. He has a puncher's chance. Okay. And my main concern is not Makabu beating Canelo in the car. He's not going to outbox Canelo, if we keep it real. Okay.
No.
But he is the biggest puncher Canelo's ever fought. That does make him dangerous. Even if Canelo blocks his shots with his forearms, arms, like that can cause some nerve. Like I remember I was talking to Beeb one time about Rocky Marciano used to fuck up dudes like blood clots. Even in the punches they blocked. Canelo is a dude that started as a welterweight, ladies and gentlemen. He started as a welterweight. He spent a good amount of time at 154. He spent a good amount of time at 160. And now he's going to move up to fight not just a cruiserweight, which would be dangerous in itself, but a puncher at cruiserweight. Okay? So it's that's the crazy thing. And now I'm not saying Makabu's as good as Triple G, but I don't think Cal Brooks is as good as Canelo either. Okay? And what I'll say is that when Cal Brook moved up, just 2 weight classes from welterweight at 147 to 160 against Triple G, who's not the biggest middleweight in the world either. He was never the same. The danger is there. When I saw Sergio Martinez, who I felt was going to annihilate Chavez Jr. And he did. He was giving him a boxing lesson for 11 and a half rounds. Motherfucking landed one good punch, and Martinez was never the same again. My concern in this fight is Canelo taking too much physical damage. Even if he blocks the shots, even if the punches don't count because they landed on the hip or whatever it is, there's some physical damage he can take, right? And moving up to this weight class, and when he does decide, okay, now I want to unify 175 or go back down to 168, he may not be the same. That is the risk and the concern I personally have. That there may be a price to pay in making history at cruiserweight. That's my take.
All right. My man Puro Sur Central, $5 says HCP is war. You damn right it is. Okay. Now, since we're talking about odds, who better to talk odds with than the man himself beating the odds with Beeb?
That guy beats the odds.
I want to know what your thoughts are, man. What do you give him a shot, man? Makabu to beat Canelo here. What's the percentage?
25% chance that Makabu can win. And like D-Style said, he broke it down perfectly. I think the power is the key for him. But I watched a couple of his fights, and even in the Bellew fight, and you could see that he tries to set traps. He likes to be the counterpuncher. He likes to have you come forward so he can suck you into that sneaky left hand. But that left hand is a very powerful, potent punch. And he is the bigger man. And I think Canelo Alvarez will have a significant speed advantage. I think that's going to help him. And even Canelo Alvarez moving up in these weight classes, when he was at 154, we saw how the speed of Austin Trout, Floyd Mayweather, and Ruslan de Lara gave him problems. They had quicker feet than him. But as he started moving up, that foot speed advantage that the guys had at 154 went away. And at 168, 175, I think he has a significant hand speed advantage over most of these guys. And I think that'll show up in this fight as well. The thing is how will his power translate? Because I'm anticipating he'll probably weigh about 180, 182 for the fight. And I'm not sure if it's official, if Makabu will go down to 190. I know that's a strong possibility, and I know it's been mentioned, but it hasn't really been made official yet. So if Makabu doesn't go down to 190 and he's at 200, can Canelo hurt him? And can a 182-pound guy hurt a 200-pound guy? Come fight night, Makabu will probably rehydrate up to 205 if the weight limit's 190, and Canelo will probably enter the ring the weight that he weighed in at. So he could be giving up a significant amount of pounds. I can't remember the last time he gave up a lot of weight in a fight. He's always pretty much been the heavier guy, the thicker guy. He won't be the heavier, thicker guy in this fight. So the big question, will he be able to get Makabu's attention? But again, Makabu's not a volume guy. He's a counterpuncher guy too. So Canelo, who's not a volume guy himself, may be the guy throwing more punches in this fight. He may have a punch stat and punch count advantage for the first time in a fight, really. And we all know he's accurate, but he may be more active in this fight, and because of the hand speed and just the volume of punches and the way he can put the shots together. He's a better combination puncher, goes to the body, very versatile. We know he can counterpunch as well. So all those things will be in his favor. But again, the power is the X factor, and can he get Makabu's attention to stop him from coming forward, or stop him from, getting off and being hesitant to throw big shots against him. So, but I still think, Canelo's got more tools in the toolbox, and I think that's going to be his advantage in the fight. So I think he'll win the fight, but the X factor is that power.
All right, so we got 30, 25. Brian, the boxing historian, what do you think, man? What percentage you give Makabu to win here?
I give Makabu. I give him a 40% chance, just because of the weight difference in the size. Because, of course, understanding this, that the cruiserweights, they cut down either from between anywhere from 210 to 220, 225 pounds to make 200, but in this fight, of course, because of the WBC, it's 190. But at the same time, it's to me, when I think about that Kovalev fight with Canelo had problems. Now, of course, Kovalev's a much better boxer, much more polished boxer than Makabu. But the higher the weight class, the bigger the puncher, majority of the time. And I think that's going to definitely affect Canelo in his game plan or his approach to the fight, even making adjustments within the fight with that. I still would have him. I would still favor him in that fight, of course. I probably favor him like maybe 8 rounds to 4, or maybe, possibly 7-5. But I think that size difference is going to definitely give him certain problems that he's going to be presented with that he hasn't been presented with before, but just because of the excess amount of weights, and he's fighting a much bigger guy than even the light heavyweights. So, and of course, the guy is a puncher, and of course, 25 of his 28 wins by way of knockout. So I think that it's going to be a tough fight for Canelo from that standpoint, but I do think that his IQ and his other attributes and his skill and his technique is going to be what gets him to a unanimous decision. I'm only saying that based off of if that 10 extra pounds that you're going to lose, which he would have to he's having 4 months to prepare for that anyways, going up to May, or maybe even more than that, time to adjust his body for that. That's assuming if that weight cut isn't that big of a difference. So
yeah, it's not official yet, because I think of what the next topic is going to be is the reason why. But Alexis L with another $2 super chat says, I learned a lot from Beeb's breakdowns. Yeah, Beeb is great, man, when it comes to breaking down fights, man, for sure.
My breakdowns ain't that bad. I mean, my breakdowns are okay, right?
They're great. They're great, man.
Right.
Maestro, give
Shout
me your
out to
percentage, man. Give me your percentage for Makabu.
Well, look, I'm going to start off by doing a little bit of a compare and contrast, using little Bloom's taxonomy, little higher order thinking on this one. I don't just want to throw out a number. We got to do a little bit of research and analysis on this. But before I got to say this, bro, like, this is HCP. I believe I'm pronouncing his name correctly when I say Makabu. I think the accent is on the second A, not on the first one. So I'm just letting everybody know. We don't need to sound like some wasps.
The maestro needs to educate. How are we going to know that? Maybe don't tell us. You know what I mean?
Pretty sure it's Makabu. Again, accent on the second A, not on the first one.
Well, I'll tell you this. You can help me. You can help me with the guy who we're going to talk about next. Go ahead.
Okay, so
Makabu.
So I think it's Makabu right there. So that's number one. But in all seriousness, look, I think it's probably a 60-40 fight. I wouldn't go any wider than 65-35. I've been hearing for years, oh, Canelo doesn't ever have any real power. I don't believe in Canelo's real power. Well, then he went up to Kovalev and knocked him out. People still doubted it. Then he did it to Billy Joe. People even still doubting it after that. If he doesn't have real power, then, I guess this isn't really even a 50-50 fight, right? Because he's going up to cruiserweight. He started at 147. So if this is anything other than a 50-50 fight, clearly Canelo does have at least a little bit of power. So that's number one. Number two, I think that this fight, as I said last week, is a lot closer than any of the other names that I've been hearing, people saying Canelo needs to fight. I'm including Charlo. I'm including Triple G. I'm including Andrade. I'm definitely including Benavidez. None of these dudes have done anything to make me feel that they would be more competitive. Just look at their opponents, including Triple G over the last 4 fights. None of them have beaten anybody that's more impressive than a cruiserweight world champion. And I get it. People don't follow the cruiserweight division. I get it. People didn't watch Kovalev Yard and see Makabu on the undercard. I did. I've watched streams of his fights. I saw him go war I saw him go blow for blow. I saw him go life and death with Tony Bellew for 3 rounds. I know he got knocked out, but I saw it.
Smooth out.
Okay, so guys, let's keep it real. All right, that's my breakdown. This is no wider than a 65-35 fight. I'm saying 60-40, and Canelo should be getting full credit for taking on this challenge and should be getting full credit if he finishes successfully.
All right, my man Beeb, Ringside Reporter Live with $10 super chats. Happy Thanksgiving, everyone on the panel and in the chat. Orale, vatos and vatas.
Man, orale.
You gotta love Beeb, man.
Happy Thanksgiving.
Yeah, man. Mario, your turn, man. Give me your percentage here and give me a reason why.
Yeah, listen, I like to think about it in terms of betting, right? I like to think about what I would want on my money if I was going to take either fighter. And that's why I'm not saying that his chances are 20%. I think Maestro probably nailed it pretty well. So did Boxing Historian. But for me, it's 20% in the sense of what I'd be willing to put up, on Canelo or on Makabu, sorry. Because the thing is this, yes, he deserves the credit for going up to cruiserweight. Yes, he deserves the credit for making this attempt and what it means and what it represents. A lot of people keep comparing it to Roy Jones and what he did at heavyweight. I don't think that the comparisons are quite aligned, but whatever. There's two things that make it 20% for me in terms of betting again. It's Canelo and what his ability and what his skill set looks like with a heavier frame, how he moves, how he carries that weight. Beeb taught me a lot about that stuff in the early days of TBV. I remember Adrian Broner. That was a big thing, that Beeb had talked about, his ability to move and his ability to put punches together with movement. It's a big shift when you're having to carry so much more weight than you're used to. All the rounds he puts in sparring and on the heavy bag and mitt work, and then in the fights, all of that gives him, this muscle memory that, what's it going to be like? I'm not doubting it as much, but I do want to see it. But for Makabu, he's the perfect style here. Yes, he's a southpaw. Yes, he's bigger, but he's going to give up early rounds, like Beeb said. This is a high guard guy who wants to wait and set traps, like Beeb said. Bellew even mentioned too, he's got to go out and throw out his game plans that he usually attests to. It's, waiting, trying to set traps, all that. He's got to be aggressive. I don't think we're going to see that out of him. I don't think we're going to see that out of him. And in fact, I think it plays into Canelo's what Canelo's going to have to do to win this fight. So, all of that goes to the point that while this is a test and while this is a challenge, there is a separation in class between a Makabu and a Dorticos or a Breedis or even a Nicoli. There is a separation level there in quality of cruiserweight, but Canelo's jumping up 2 weight classes. You know what I mean? It would be nuts for him to go after a Dorticos, at this point without even fighting a Bivol or a Better Beef. You know what I mean? So ultimately, I have it at 20% for, all those factors. But the overwhelming one is that it's Canelo. And at this point, kind of like Tom Brady is now, until you prove that guy's no longer the guy, until somebody shows me that with my eyes, then I can't say otherwise. It's like betting on Floyd. I'd picked against Floyd quite a few times, growing up. And then it got to the point where I can't do it. It was that old adage, like, there are guarantees in life, taxes, death, and, Ivan Calderon by decision. No, but ultimately, I think those are the factors that, go in and would give Canelo the win. I think he's going to get it and earn it.
All right. Calix Boxing 2.0 just joined the panel. I want to get you your percentage here, man. How are Makabu? I'm sorry, I'm trying to say it right for Maestro. I don't want him to get mad at me. Okay, Makabu. Okay, Makabu. All right. What are his chances of beating Canelo, man?
Yeah, I saw the Vegas odds came out last week for this. I believe it was like plus 300, plus 400. I want to say plus 300. So they're giving him a much better shot of winning than they gave Caleb Plant, than they gave Billy Joe Saunders. And I'm right there with them and where Maestro would be on this. What he was just saying, I just caught his too, is about 30 to 35%. And I gave Billy Joe Saunders maybe 5 to 10%, and Plant was maybe 10 to 15%. But imagine believing, because I see channels out there and journalists out there, imagine believing that Charlo and Andre are tougher fights than Makabu for Canelo. Like, imagine believing that. You know, I understand the sentiment that Makabu hasn't fought in 2021. What has he done to deserve the shot? On the surface, I understand that, but what has Canelo proven that he values right now? Since he doesn't have that, and boxing history proves to us that that guy is going to show his face eventually, but right now he doesn't have that adversary between 160 and 175 that everybody can point to and say, you have to fight that guy. So he's bored with it. So what has he proven that he values right now? It's hardware. All right. Caleb Plant happened to have a belt that Canelo needed to get undisputed. Caleb Plant got the shot. These other guys, Billy Joe Saunders, they got the shot. Makabu has a belt that Canelo values, and he wants it, and he's going to get it. And Makabu is going to get the fight for it. So good for Makabu. Good for him. Sometimes it's about being in the right place at the right time. But these guys with their weird angles, man, Charlo and Andre are not tougher fights than Makabu. They are not. They're not. They're just not. In any shape, manner, form. I watched Maestro's show the other night. D-Style, you were on there as well. You guys did a great job, and I'm glad you did this, of illustrating through BoxRec on the show of how weak these guys' resumes have been as of late and how little they deserve these shots. I mean, get active, fight each other. I mean, do something. And I would take it even further. I mean, I saw, and somebody can fact check me in the chat, or you guys can fact check me on this. I saw a stat that was disturbing the other night after I watched y'all show, because I wanted to do more research on it. Over the past 10 fights of all the fighters, if you put Charlo in there, Andre in there, and Benavidez in there, 30 fights combined, there was only one major champion on the resume out of those 30 fights. You know, I want somebody to fact check me. I want to be wrong on this, but that's the stat that I saw. And if you look at Canelo's last 10 fights, I believe it was 8 to 9 world champions on his resume. I mean, that's a fact. Stat, if that is true.
That is true. I believe it is true, Calix. And even if you throw Triple G into the mix, who has he fought since Canelo? Steve Rolls. Okay, Camille Zarameta, Sergey Deverenchenko. But we need to see him fight Canelo. We need to see a third fight. I need to see that right now.
You know what we need to see, though?
Just chill.
Please, Maestro.
You know what we need to see, though? The biggest fight in boxing, according to Chris Mannix.
Charlo,
Andre versus
That's the biggest fight, baby. It's gonna break it's gonna break the North American stadium attendance record, I guarantee.
But that fight should happen. Like, you're not getting a Canelo fight each other.
Yeah, I agree, man. And it looks like there might be some movement. We talked about that a little earlier. And at middleweight, we'll see if that happens. Yeah. But before we move on to the next topic, look, I'm giving Makabu 20%. I think he's got a puncher's chance, and that's it. I just don't think this guy's very skilled at all. He's very slow, very flat-footed. Sometimes he's very off balance to me. I think Canelo is just too good for this guy, man.
It's a big jump.
He's not going to stand right in front of him. He's not going to stand right in front of him. Like a lot of these guys where I see these highlights, people showing highlights of him knocking guys out. These dudes are standing right in front of him, stiff, like punching bags. Like, Canelo's just too good. And I think B made a great point. As we've seen Canelo move up in weight, guys can't move away from him as good because his footwork has improved as well from those days when he fought Lara, Trout, Mayweather. And I demonstrated that after the Plant fight, how he was able to move with Plant, cut the ring off on Plant. His footwork has gotten a lot better. So he's got the better feet, got the faster hands, better defense. He's just better all around, man. I don't believe in this guy.
Two things I'd say about that, G. Two things I'll say about that. Real quick. One, I heard the same comments about Canelo being slow and flat-footed in the past. And two, you can be a little bit slower, a little bit more flat-footed when you're fighting bigger, slower guys at 200 pounds. You know, he's fighting cruiserweights in all of the videos that we see. I mean, he's not fighting 154 pounders or middleweights or 168 pounders. Cruiserweights do move slower than these smaller guys. You're talking about guys often who are making weight cuts down from 200, 225 down to 200 to fight. So, you know, I see what you're saying there, but I also think that there's that other side of the argument as well.
I agree. And also I just think there's guys that are better than him that are the same weight, that have better feet, better skills, and that's Breedis, Okoli. Like, these guys are just,
can I ask you a
in my
question,
opinion, far better than Makabu. Go ahead.
Just really quick. So if someone has never watched boxing, they haven't consumed enough Joe Habib to like understand the sport. You know what I mean? Right? Like they're new to the sport, and all they see is Chocolatito, right? Bobbing and weaving and throwing combinations and slipping and dodging, and of course he gets hit with some, but he's throwing like a shitload, right? And then you show him Makabu, right? Like, and they don't know anything about weight classes. They don't know that these guys are weight classes apart. They're just watching on their little small smartphone. Who do you think most people are going to say is better and would win in a fight?
The bigger guy, I would say.
No, but they don't know he's the bigger guy. They're just looking at the styles, how they're fighting. They have no idea that it's a bigger guy.
Probably Chocolatito, I would still say.
Yeah.
Right. But can Chocolatito beat Makabu?
No, not at all.
No, I'm saying if
so we have to grade him as a cruiserweight is what I'm saying.
Drastic. That's a big contrast.
No, I use a drastic example on purpose. That was by design. Okay. Right?
But we got to move on, brother. So finish up.
Yeah.
We're running out of time. Go ahead. Finish your point. Go ahead.
No, that was the question. That was the point.
Okay, because we got two more topics. We're at an hour, almost an hour and a half, 2 hour show. So let's keep it moving. We're still going to talk Canelo, though. This next topic is about Canelo, too. So, you know, we'll still be talking about him. But, Maestro, I want to ask you a favor, man, since you're good at the pronunciation of these names. Do me a favor.
I got to write this shit down.
Yeah, could you pronounce this guy's name who was pushing to block this fight and won't step aside for this fight? Go ahead. Let me know.
You're talking about the number one ranked guy.
Yes, the guy who has a silver belt at cruiserweight.
Here, I'm putting it in the chat.
You're talking about Mchanu?
Yes, Mchanu. Okay,
I just put it in the chat.
All right, so it's Thabiso Mchanu. Okay, that's actually an easier one, to be honest with you. I mean, literally, as Spanish speakers, guys, all we really have to do is break these words down into their syllables and read them phonetically as they're written. I mean, we actually have an advantage over some other people. Anyhow, here's what I think about this fight.
Tabasco, it sounds like Tabasco.
Maestro, hold on. Let me just ask the question, then you can go, okay? Mchanu is pushing for the Makabu fight, and he won't step aside. Is the Canelo versus Makabu fight in jeopardy? If so, then, you know, what does Canelo do next? Go ahead, Maestro.
Well, if that's the case, then it's definitely in jeopardy, because the only reason Canelo is interested in Makabu is because he's the holder of the green belt at cruiserweight. As soon as he is fighting Makabu without the belt, I mean, there's no interest in that fight, not to Canelo and not to casual fans. I mean, otherwise, he's just fighting some guy at 200 pounds from the Congo for what? Shits and giggles, I guess. I mean, it's not really going to be what the fight is if Makabu is actually a champion. If he gets stripped, I mean, he loses all marketability in this fight. I mean, the only people who probably want to see that fight live in Kinshasa and other parts of the DRC. So look, what I will say about this opponent, though, is that he's already beaten this dude twice. I mean, I believe he's beaten him twice. I know he's beaten him once at least, and the last time he beat him was by knockout. So I'm not exactly sure. Maybe it wasn't twice. I know he's beaten him once at least anyway. So I'll stick with once. But He lost by knockout the last time. You know, I get it. He's ranked at number 1 in the WBC. He's also ranked in other sanctioning bodies. But if he refuses to step aside, I think honestly he's making a serious mistake. I don't really know much, honestly, about South Africa's, social welfare system, but he's literally going to be getting a check for doing nothing. So if I was him, I'd take that check and I'd fight for the vacant title after Canelo vacates it and moves back down. Or in the event that Makabu does win, like I said, I gave a 35-ish percentage for that possibility. He takes on Makabu and maybe he gets knocked out again. Maybe he doesn't. But it is in jeopardy, obviously, if the WBC does stick to its rules and doesn't allow.
If he blocks it, then what do you think Canelo does next? That's the second part of the question.
Okay, well, if he blocks the fight by not accepting the step aside, then Canelo, in my estimation, should take on Joe Smith Jr. at 175 pounds. Take on that WBO title, get his toe a little bit wet back at 175 before heading right into a Beterbiev fight. Not that I don't think that that's a winnable fight for him off the jump. I think it is. But, I mean, get that title, make that money, come back to New York where I can see him live. I'll invite Joe down, We'll post up outside the weigh-in. We'll go to the press conferences, We'll do a little ringside reporter, Maestro Boxing, double live cast, live on scene. You know what I mean? So that's what I'm hoping for. Hopefully it's right at Yankee Stadium.
Yeah.
Right? We post up right outside my building and make it extra special.
I hope it happens there, brother. You could just walk right across the street and check that fight out, man. Tony Boswell, $5 super chat. Much respect. That Black and Brown Boxing in chat stopped in to show support. Hopefully that wasn't meant for Black and Brown. But anyway, I appreciate it, Tony.
Hey, shout out to Black and Brown.
He's a big supporter of the channel, man. I appreciate it. Mario, what do you think, man? If Mchanu blocks this fight, what does Canelo do next? And who should he fight?
Yeah, listen, first of all, Maestro's right. They did fight once before. I'm going to answer the question, but the first real answer is that it's not going to be an issue because the WBC is not going to follow their rules when it comes to Canelo. They were so quick to just slap the approval down. They had that stamp ready, and raring to go. Now like people, bring this up and they're talking about, this potential mandatory because he already fought a final eliminator. And so, everybody's talking like the WBC's sweating it. You know what I mean? They're not sweating it. Canelo's going to fight who he wants to fight, and the WBC is going to be more than accommodating. That said, the fight that's very interesting to me that I feel like's falling under the radar is Triple G Murata. I think that there is so much intrigue there, and I think there are so many implications in that fight. And I truly believe that if this fight doesn't happen, for the sake of argument, and Triple G were to go out and starch Murata, that would entice Canelo to fight. It's not a fight that I want to see. I don't need to see a third fight. I don't think a lot of hardcores really want to see a third fight. But in terms of what's out there and in terms of what makes financial sense and what would sell on a Mexican holiday weekend, because that's the proposed fight date is in May. I think that's a sellable fight. On the other side of things, what doesn't make as much sense, I think, but still intriguing, is if Murata wins, because we know that Canelo wants to branch out internationally. He's talked about wanting to fight in the UK, and Maestro made great points earlier about how much attention Murata gets, and the ratings he gets in his homeland. And I think that's enticing enough. So if in some crazy world, the cash cow that is Canelo doesn't get what he wants, I think that's a pretty good option right there. Winner of that fight.
Interesting perspective there, Mario, but I like it, man. Joe Habib, what do you think, man? If Mchanu blocks the fight, what do you think Canelo does next?
Doesn't this remind you of another similar situation? Another guy who had the silver title and was ranked number 1 for almost 3 years, and he never got his title shot. So if he didn't get his title shot, you think Mchunu
650 days?
You think Mchunu's going to get his? Listen, the WBC has to order this fight for Mchunu. If they don't order this fight, then he's not going to get it. What do you mean? He's refusing to step aside. You don't have to step aside. They're going to grab you and throw you aside. You ain't getting this fight, dude. You ain't getting this fight. It's over. So that's it. He's right. He's not going to be forced to step aside. He's going to be forced to get thrown aside. I see a Rey
Mysterio comment in the chat. They're going to do like Kevin Nash did Rey Mysterio when they invaded WCW and throw him against the trailer.
Throw him like a lawn dart.
Like he was a little javelin.
Yeah.
Love you, Ray, but too bad, man. You got thrown like a javelin.
Boxing historian, man. What do you think, man? If Mchunu does not step aside, what does Canelo do next? What do you think, man?
Well, if that somehow in some way that actually happens, I think that this is of course hype, this is just the ability of actually happening, because I'm pretty sure that fight's gonna be made. The WBC and Canelo, I mean, if their demand is, they're gonna get what they want. But if it don't happen, then at 168, there's only one, there'd be only one fight for him to have, and that would be the Benavidez fight. Either that or move up to 175 instantly and fight one of those champions up there. Fight Bivol, So
good fight. Yeah.
I'm saying that those would be the only two those would be the only two fights that would really draw a lot of interest just in general, just in the whole boxing community. And not only that, but it would be a definite for his fans, be like, okay, he's fighting somebody that actually can give him a challenge and that actually has a chance to beat him. So those would be the two fights to have. But will it happen? Will this fight not happen? No, I think it will.
Yeah, I think most of us do as well. Calix, what are your thoughts on this topic here, man?
Yeah, I'll go quick. Makabu, man, it's gonna happen. The fight's gonna happen. Canelo moves mountains. From business sense, he wants to fight. He's gonna get the fight. Mchunu is gonna get paid. Talk about being in the right place at the right time. Mchunu is in the right place at the right time, because guess what? He's gonna get paid handsomely, and he's playing hardball right now. Continue to play hardball, my man. Get that money up.
Get your bag.
Get your bag.
We don't step away at people earning around here. That's for sure.
Get your bag to sit at home on the couch and watch Canelo. Order it. Watch Canelo versus Makabu, who you lost to back in 2015. So right place, right time. Good for him, man. I'm happy for him. But I do want to echo real quick. I like where Mario is going with the Triple G versus Murata thing. And by the way, it's not a foregone conclusion that Triple G is going to win that fight. And that is a huge fight.
Great point.
In Japan. And Canelo has shown interest. He has talked about a lot about wanting to fight in other continents. So just keep that out there. If Murata pulls off that upset, that throws in another name in the mix of a possible Canelo fight. Triple G, if he looks good, who knows? Because you look at all the polls of who boxing fans want to see Canelo fight. On these polls, man, people can like it or not. Triple G is either always number one or number two.
Yes, he is.
Yes, so there's still interest there. People still haven't gotten past that. So you got to throw that out there. But I'm telling you, do not sleep on Murata against Triple G.
Yeah. I mean, Triple G's a casual name. The casuals know who he is. D-Style, give me your thoughts, man. Will Mchunu, or I'm seeing in the chat, Machurro, but Mchunu, will he play hardball here and stop the fight, and if he does, what does Canelo do next?
Mchunu, you know what I mean? Like, you gotta put it right, like, Hey, really quick, Maestro, who's the guy that Canelo knocked out at 175?
Kovalev?
Sergey the Crusher Kovalev. Not bad for a guy who doesn't have
it's not Kovalev. Like it's American. It's Kovalev. Okay, like you gotta put the like Kovalev. Like you gotta be like you gotta. If you don't put the in it, it doesn't count. Okay, Kovalev. Okay, but Mchanu. Okay, let me tell you something. He's the dude texting her. Canelo's the dude in the apartment with her. Who's getting the panties? Okay, stop. Okay, I'm gonna stop. I'm gonna stop the fight. Get the fuck out of here.
Hey, he's strong-willed, baby. He said, "I'm stopping this fight." Okay.
What are you gonna do? Keep texting her and shit? Like, what are you gonna do? Like, are you kidding me? Right? I ain't gonna step aside. Are you kidding me right now? This dude. Let me tell you something. This dude ain't stopping shit, bro. Let me tell you something. Okay.
He's like the Lions defense.
A 5-year-old has a better shot. A 5-year-old has a better shot of stopping a freight train, okay, in the fucking train tracks than this dude stopping this fight. Okay? He's got a better shot, guys. I'm just telling you right now. Get in a plane, okay, like 400 feet in the air, whatever it is, right? 1,000 feet in the air. Jump off that plane, you have a better shot at survival than this dude has to stop this fight. This dude ain't stopping shit. Like, there's nothing this dude's gonna stop. Okay, like we have a better shot of stopping death than this dude has to stopping this fight from happening. But this guy can't stop. He ain't gonna stop anything. Now, is he gonna get his money? Does he want some extra cash? Hell yeah, he does. You kidding me? This dude he called his wife. Yo, we won the lottery right now, baby. Like, what do you mean? Oh, we won the lottery. Okay, like Canelo's gonna fork up another $200,000. Let's go, baby. We're gonna go on vacation. You know, we're gonna buy the red panties. Let's go. Like, yeah, they ain't gonna stop shit, bro. Come on. Everybody knows that. We're gonna use the discretion of the WBC to make the fights happen.
It's him.
That is the rule of the WBC. Bridger is a great child that saved his sister. And I will say one more time that Canelo is an ambassador to the sport, good for the sport, and we will make the fight with him in Makabu, and he will fight him in Africa. The fights will happen in Las Vegas or wherever the fight happens. Because we will do whatever the WBC has in the discretion. That is the rule. That's the rule.
There we go. Mauricio Suleiman there, guys. Let's give him a hand, all right, man.
Yeah.
Yo, it's actually really good.
Best,
it's actually really good.
One thing y'all are sleeping on, too, is Canelo is eyeing the Bridgerweight belt, too. I'm telling you. He's going to add another weight class.
No, this dude, mark my words. He will
mark my words on that.
The WBC Bridgerweight belt, okay? And Bridger himself on his shoulder after that victory when Reynoso lifts him up. Mark my words.
There we go. Right. Real quickly, let me get to these super chats. Remy with the $2 super chat says Canelo gets nalgas. All right, he's out there getting it, okay? And the high-low in the house as well, man. A $2 super chat. Thank you so much, man. I want to move on to the last topic of the show because we're getting there. It's clutch time right now, okay? And G-Funk always comes through in the clutch, okay? But the last thing I want to ask you guys is this, and I say that for a reason. I think this is going to be a really good topic of discussion. Crawford versus Porter, right? We just had that pay-per-view. According to reports, did around 190,000. So I want to ask this question to you guys. Now, according to the Spence fans after this fight, you know, they're still saying Spence is a 70-30 to a 60-40 A side over Crawford. Okay, like I guess he's knocking it out of the ballpark with his pay-per-views. But I'm going to ask you guys this: is he really that big of an A side? Because I got some pictures here. All right, let's take a look at some of Spence's pay-per-views here. This one here is Danny Garcia. They're talking about it's about 250K. Sean Porter, they're saying it's tracking towards 350. Although we didn't get an exact number. And I believe Mikey did 300, I want to say 300K with Mikey. Now we're getting reports from our favorite guy here, Michael Coppinger, where he says that Crawford and Khan did around 200, likely under. And, you know, again, the 190. So, I mean, it's really not that big of a difference to me, in my opinion. 70-30 to me is outrageous. I even think 60-40 is a little bit of a stretch. But I want to ask all of you guys, man, according to what you've seen there, what do you think, man? Like, is he really that big of an A side? Brian, I want to start with you, man.
He was never that big of an A side to begin with. And I say this because, of course, observing it over the years and, of course, observing these Errol Spence supporters or extreme fans and extreme supporters of the man believe that this man has been killing it on pay-per-view. And of course, you showed the numbers. And you just look at it from the standpoint, they both need each other. They both need each other as dance partners, so to speak, to make the big money fight for pay-per-view and get those pay-per-view buys to go their way. Like one night, it's not surprising that the fight did 190 or somewhere around the ballpark of 190, maybe 200 at the most. My thing is with the formula of pay-per-view, there's only like one or two guys that can actually do anything all right with the pay-per-view. And of course, Anthony Joshua, if he ever fought on pay-per-view, and Canelo Alvarez. The rest of these guys need dance partners to so-called dance partners to make money. So no, it was never that big of a difference between those two. And to be honest with you, it should be split down the line 50-50. Because both of these guys, maybe 55-45 Spence's way, because of there's probably more people that know about Spence than Terrence Crawford, but it's not that big of a margin like people have been saying for the last couple of years. So I believe that it really, at the end of the day, it should be 50-50, especially, what's happened to Spence over the last couple of months. I think his stock would have to drop a little bit. And I believe that, what Crawford has done up to this point, it should be 50-50.
50-50 from the boxing historian, man. I like that, man. Mario, what do you think, man? Is according to those numbers, what we've seen from both guys, okay? Is Spence, I mean, obviously we're going to say he's the A side, but is he that big of an A side like some people are making it out to seem?
No, not at all. Excuse me, I'm sorry. No, these guys are the best of a Mayweather, Pacquiao, De La Hoya-less division. These guys are the product of being stars with a goalpost that's been brought way back in. They need this fight to become the stars. Earl needed that Pacquiao fight. We get these passing of the torch fights every once in a while. De La Hoya did it with Mayweather and Pacquiao. We've seen it in the past where guys get that clout. Unfortunately, it went to Ugas, and nothing against Ugas, but he doesn't do that for anybody. He is not a Spence. He is not even a Thurman, at this point, despite the fact that he technically retired Pacquiao. That's what Spence needed to be able to solidify himself as the A side, and on another aspect of this, Mayweather and Pacquiao really ruined the perception of a successful pay-per-view number in the eyes of a lot of fans. Fortunately for us, we're of the age that we know what pay-per-views look like before Mayweather and Pacquiao were stars. So we know what pay-per-view numbers look like before that. But for guys, and girls who were younger and grew up and saw these million mark pay-per-views, 800,000, 900,000 being routinely just made every time, it ruined the perception of what, is a great number and a good number. I think that's what makes me hate this thing. Talking about pay-per-views, it's like we're going to cover the presser, we're going to cover the weigh-in, we're going to cover the fight, and then we're going to cover the pay-per-view numbers. Like, it's something that has a determining factor in what we saw Saturday, as if it alters the perception of what we saw and what both Porter and Crawford accomplished. Because even though Crawford won, Porter still goes down with the legacy that he has as fighting everybody and giving everybody a tough fight. But ultimately, no. To answer your question, Spence has not solidified himself as the end-all, be-all A side of the welterweight division. He needs Terrence Crawford just as much as Terrence Crawford needs him. This is the fight that makes the most sense. And ultimately, I think that the winner of this can receive the kind of clout that puts him, in that stratosphere. I don't think they ever make Mayweather Pacquiao, numbers happen, but there's nothing wrong with, getting just below that number or whatever that, number ends up being. But this is what could solidify it. I think that Crawford's on his way out. He talked about that on the Porter podcast. He doesn't have a lot long left. he needs the Spence fight. That solidifies him as the A side. That solidifies him as the dominating factor, the welterweight. And then if Spence were to do the same thing, it would solidify him even more because he beat Porter first. He did a lot of these things first. So essentially, this is a big fight. I think it is a big fight. It's not a mega fight, but it is a big fight. And like boxing historians said, this is a 50-50 thing, or at least it should be. But that makes too much sense for boxing, right?
Exactly, man. Off the ropes, boxing and MMA says he thinks this should be a 40-40 when the winner gets the 20. So he says thanks for keeping the fight. I appreciate that, man. No doubt.
I always
about
love
it.
that
Appreciate
idea.
the support. Hey, why not, man? Yeah. Beeb, what do you think, man? Is Spence that guy? Does he move the needle like that to where he's going to be 70-30 A side or what? What do you think, man?
I don't think he's going to get 70-30, but from what I heard, Errol Spence and Mikey Garcia, they did 360,000 pay-per-view buys, and I believe there was like 47,000 at Dallas Stadium. So I don't think Crawford's done anything near those numbers. But again, it's just such a significant fight, and if it's going to be broken down to percent splits, and that's going to hold up the fight, then that's going to be pretty sad. But I could see Crawford accepting 60-40. I could see him doing that because I think he really believes he can win the fight. And I do think Spence does have an edge in drawing power. I do think he has the 2 belts. So he does have a little bit of leverage here, I would say. And I think 60-40 isn't out of the realm of possibility. I don't think that's a horrible split for Crawford, just because a lot of people think Crawford can beat Spence and they think he's better. A lot of people thought that Golovkin was going to beat Canelo, but Canelo still got the A side money. You know what I mean? So it's not who we think is better and not who we think deserves what. It all comes down to the numbers, and Spence does have better numbers.
All right. Calix, what do you think about this, man? What are your thoughts?
No, everybody that just went made brilliant points, and I would echo those. I can't really add much to that. However, the one thing I would bring up is, and if you've been following my channel over the years, you know that pay-per-view buys and splits bore me. I start to lose interest. But from the little bit of research that I've done this week, it's sort of comparing apples to oranges when it comes to this pay-per-view. And I believe that Porter and Crawford talked about it the other night, and it was lost on me because I have ESPN Plus anyway, but you had to have ESPN Plus to order this fight, or you had to subscribe to ESPN Plus for at least a month and then get the pay-per-view. And I'm telling you, people just poo-poo that, like, because we're boxing fans, we're in our bubble, that doesn't matter. But I'm telling you, there are a lot of people that are on the fence when it comes to buying pay-per-views, and they say, you know what? I'm either going to call it a night and go to bed early, or I'm going to watch this football game instead. It's just too much trouble. I'm just not going to do it. I'm telling you that happens. I don't know what the number is, a specific number, how much it affected it, but I'm telling you it affected it. May have been in a small way, but 190, you do it another way, could have been turned into 240. I don't know. So it could be apples to oranges there. Yeah. The other point that I would make is I kind of disagree with Beav. I don't think that Crawford's the type of guy that would take a 40% split against Spence. I think he's a type of guy who believes in himself, and he's saying this guy does not deserve 60% against me. And I don't think so either, because I don't think the fight's happening next anyway. So I think Crawford's going to build a little more and demand a 50-50 split. And I think eventually he gets it, and this fight happens in 2023. That's my prediction. And also on the 40-40 split with 20% going to the winner, my point to those people always is boxers do not trust that. Boxers do not trust that the judges are going to make the right decision. Let's say the judges give you a bad decision. Castano, he gets 40%. He's promised 20%. If he wins, 70% of the boxing public thinks he won the fight. But guess what? The judges thought he lost. He gets 40% instead of 60%. So fighters will never trust that.
All right. He says 2023. I remember some people yesterday were saying 2035. Let's go, baby. All right. D-Style, man. What do you think, bro? What's is he that big of an A side or what? What do you think?
This is what I'll say. At this point, like, I think it's clear to me that Spence needs this fight. He needs this fight to prove that if he wants to prove to people, hey, that car accident wasn't shit, I'm still that same dude. If he wants to prove to people that, no, I'm still that same ruthless Spence that you knew before, he needs this Crawford fight. He does. And I believe that the time and the clock, Father Time, is not being kind to Errol Spence. Ladies and gentlemen, Errol Spence is either just as, if not older than Canelo Alvarez. I just want that to sink in for you. Please, let that sink in. This idea that they are aging Crawford and like, bro, like you're not a spring chicken. You're old as fucking boxing years too. Sometimes if you want to do something great, the quote unquote A side, which A side, B side to me is reserved for like a big mega star, like a Canelo, right? And then the B side is the other guy. Like, to me, this isn't like worthy of you're on the other side of the record label. No, like Crawford and Spence are on the same fucking side of the label. Okay? They're on the same side. I'm sorry. You might be the first song, he might be the second song, but you're on the same fucking side, motherfucker. You ain't that big of a draw yourself. All right? Timing is everything. The Spence Porter fight was before the pandemic, ladies and gentlemen. Okay? That matters. Crawford fighting Khan. I mean, look, we just saw what Canelo did. He did over $1 million with Golovkin. He did over 800 with or about 800 with Plant. He did 600,000 with fucking Khan. Okay? And after he knocked him the fuck out, they tried to sell Khan in a Crawford fight. Of course it was gonna flop. Okay? So it's all like, I'm not here to debate who should get the lion's share, which is the old term that was used. Okay, the lion's share of the money should be going to Spence, but spare me the 60-40. We got fans on the internet saying 60-40 like if they know shit or something. All right,
right?
Are you fucking shitting me right now? Just like people want to see Spence versus Crawford. All right, that's what they want to see. So if Spence wants to make mega money, if Crawford wants to make mega money, make this fight. All right, this is the fight that's going to get you guys 8 figures. This fight, okay, both of you. All right, you're both going to make this money together. You need each other because the boxing public wants this fight. Both names are on the bill. Put Spence's name first. Crawford second, it's settled. Give Spence 52% and Crawford 48%. Spare me. All right? I just don't give a fuck who gets what, but when a guy wants a fight and he wants to put something, he wants to make a statement, they'll make it happen. Sugar Ray Leonard gave up a lot of money, okay, to have conditions set forth in the Hagler fight. Okay, you wanted a 20 by 20 instead of an 18 by 18, and he forked up some money. Okay, he wanted 12 rounds instead of 15. He forked up some money, right? I'm not saying Spence should go that far, but at some point, if you want to be known as the greatest, because none of you are going to be known as the greatest welterweight of your generation unless you fight each other. And right now, consensus is Crawford is the best. You want to shut up the critics? You want to shut me up? Because Spence, I don't think you could beat Crawford. I don't. I think Crawford beats you. Terence Crawford beats Errol Spence. Unless you get him in the ring and beat him, I'm not going to feel differently. So unless you want to erase that from the history books, you better get him in the ring. And if that means that his ego's too big, that he doesn't want to take 40%, then guess what? You got to give him a little bit more. And that's all you got to say.
All right. I'm going to go pass the mic to my brother, Maestro. He's going to give us his thoughts on this, and then we're going to wrap this thing up. Guys, make sure you hit the like button in the chat. I want everybody on this panel, you all got wrenches. Drop links to your channel so everybody here, if they're not subscribed to you, can subscribe. Maestro, burn it up, baby. What you got?
Well, I've just got to help all the people out here real quick because, I don't want anybody getting upset and mad over what I'm about to say. Maestro's getting a little old. It's pushing 40.
It's not that old. It's not that old.
He's born in the
choking the hell out of
80s.
40.
You know, he's born in the 80s. Listen to this old man.
I'm choking for you.
Right? He grew up in an era when there were real pay-per-view stars, and you know, he's an old man. 150,000 is a pay-per-view star these days. I get it. I get it.
Spit it out.
Okay, I get it. But guys, this is getting like absurd and dumb and corny as fuck as far as I'm concerned. Guys, you should all be about unifying the titles, okay? Look, again, I'm 80s baby. Grew up in the 90s watching boxing. You know, I remember when De La Hoya fought Hopkins, okay? De La Hoya fought Hopkins. You guys remember that? For the Undisputed Championship, right? De La Hoya got that title away from Felix Sturm, right? I don't remember all of this back and forth, the 50-50, 60-40, 70-30. I mean, it was obvious that they just needed to fight. De La Hoya was the A side, and things kept moving. You know, De La Hoya obviously got the lion's share of that purse, but people are out here acting like that's the leverage to Errol Spence Jr.'s bringing into this fight. Or you hate the PBC? Stop it! Don't do it! No, I don't hate the PBC. I think the PBC puts on good fights, but we got to stop acting as if these dudes are selling big time numbers on pay-per-view, because they're not. Okay, Facts. They're not doing it. Like, look, guys, I'm gonna keep it real with you. Mike Tyson fought Roy Jones Jr. last year, okay? According to reports, they did 1.65 million and grossed 80.5 million. These are two dudes that were like, this was like the PGA, senior PGA tour of boxing. That's what they did. Are either of these two dudes doing those kind of numbers? No.
Not even
so
close.
Just fight. I'm getting a little bit sick of people putting up boxing after dark co-features and selling them as pay-per-views. Am I going crazy, or is this fight that's taking place between Prince Charles Martin and Luis Ortiz literally the level of a boxing after dark pay-per-view? Right? The last fight with Crawford, that undercard was basic cable level boxing sold on a pay-per-view as an undercard. I'm getting sick and tired of this. Just fight. Just fight. None of you are pay-per-view stars. None of you are. None of you are. Roy Jones Jr. and Mike Tyson right now are bigger pay-per-view stars than any of these guys will ever be. Mike Tyson fought Peter McNeely, did 1.5 million buys.
Yeah.
He fought Peter McNeely and did 1.5 million. And by the way, okay, once you calculate for inflation, like these levels of what these guys were doing when we were younger is like, it's embarrassing to even compare it to today. So they need a reality check. Okay. None of them are Floyd.
Inflation is too big of a word nowadays, though. I'm saying, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I know. On the last show, I got accused of like using big words. Oh, my ass was trying to be smart. Stop it with the big words. Anyways,
you got a master's degree. You are smart. Come on.
Got two master's degrees, by the way. But
good for you, man. Two.
Just keeping it accurate. So look, Joe and me, we do a show now Tuesdays. We take a working class perspective to looking at these things in boxing and in society at large. And I'm getting a little bit tired of boxers who are essentially workers who should be uniting together to raise all tides, trying to be little, mini capitalist bosses in their own right with, Sweet Hands promotions and Teofimo takeover promotions and, name the promotional company. Guys, just fight, okay? Just get it on in the ring. Stop acting like pay-per-view stars. Stop making dictates like you're never gonna fight on cable again, or you're only gonna fight in pay-per-views moving forward. Look, I want to see the fights. I don't want to hear about splits. Just make it happen. None of you are Roy Jones. None of you are Floyd. None of you guys, to be honest, are Canelo.
Well said.
So we just need to stop it.
Yes, sir.
Well said.
Good stuff, man. Alexis with another $2 super chat says great show. Yes, it indeed was a great show because I had a great panel here. I want to give a shout out to Mario. He bounced out, but I want to thank him for coming on. Also want to thank everybody else on the panel. Of course, you know, D-Style and I, we do a lot of shows together. Calix Boxing 2.0, the Boxing Historian 206, Joe Habib, Ringside Reporter, and my man, Maestro from Maestro Out Boxing. And real quickly, before we wrap it up, here's the schedule. If you guys don't know what's up with the HCP network, it's right here, okay? Monday nights belong to Maestro on G Funky Boxing. The war is on every Monday night, starting at 8 Eastern. And then we go over to my channel at 9 Eastern. Followed Tuesday by the HCP podcast on D-Style Boxing. Wednesday, we had El Chile this week. I'm not sure where they're going to be at from here on out. And again, we had the roundtable tonight due to the holiday tomorrow. Also, Women Crushing It Wednesday on In the Ring with Christine. Power Punchers will be added back to the schedule next week on Calix Boxing 2.0. So again, make sure you subscribe to him. The link is in the chat. If you guys want to put the links back in there, you can right now. Sunday, we have at 2 p.m. Eastern, the newest addition to the HCP network, Long Live Boxing. Make sure you guys check them out. And of course, as always, Joe Habib, Ringside Reporter with him and Eric Lorta every Sunday afternoon. Guys, this has been great, man. I want to thank everybody.
Really quick.
Go ahead. And also, Roundtable will be on D-Style's channel next week, next Thursday.
By the way, Jamal Herring's right now in the ring with Christine. I put the link in the chat. Everybody go over there. Let's go support Christine in the ring with Christine.
Yes.
Let's go check out her show right now. They have Jamal Herring on at the moment. And I'll see you guys next week on the Roundtable. I appreciate everybody's support.
Happy Thanksgiving, everybody.
All right, guys.
Take care,
Thank you so much. This is G Funky Boxing for the rest of the crew. We are out. See